we got to start with the big question, the name, King Mo. Where'd it come from?
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. King Mo is basically me reclaiming all the parts of me that everybody said was too much. That autonomy, really me owning my power is what it is.
When you were like, okay, I'm going to have a name that really empowers me to be extra, to be too much, why King? I'm curious about that.
King, because everybody's so used to women associating with being a queen. I never really identified with being a queen. I more identify with being a king. It's that masculine energy in me that I just continue to honor.
Yeah. There's so many messages out there. Like, be a queen, but stay in your lane, be feminine. Don't make people uncomfortable.
Don't make no waves, don't make no ripples, be all PC and, polite. And I'm from the South, so it's a whole lot of bullshit around that down here. So yeah,
bless your heart. Bless your heart.
Right, exactly. Bless your heart. That part. So this is me literally almost like a F you.
Well, all right. That's a great way to start.
I worked on government science projects for almost 14 years.
Wow.
Literally, like plutonium, fusion, fission, one of the two. I don't even remember at this point. We were working with the Russians on a project that was like, at the time, not necessarily top secret, but, there were so many details that we could not talk about.
I can't even do the science projects with my kids. So it's just to establish where I am versus where you were.
Fun. But I never fit in. That was something that I did strictly for money. In college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. College was just the next step. I'm actually the first person on my mom's side to even attend college. So when I got there, I just kind of leaned on what was more natural to me. So I had done graphics, 3D drafting, drawing. I was exposed to that from my dad. And I heard they made a lot of money. So yeah, that's where it was. I was chasing the check.
Yeah. Well, I think at some point that's what we're taught, right? That stability, insurance, be safe.
Exactly. But the security of it all, that's an illusion, because the reason why I actually left initially was because I got laid off. I got furloughed. And then that's when I decided that I was never going back. The surgery that I had was really emotional. So I had a full hysterectomy when I was 10 years ago. Well, almost 11 years ago at this point. So that put me at like 32. So, I was really young. I was married at the time. I didn't have any children of my own. And so it was just a really emotional space that I was in. I was never one of those, I just want to put this out there because I don't want people feeling sorry for being in their feelings. And I've been able to parent since then. But I was never one of those women where my dream was to grow up and be a mother. That was never me. My ex-husband and I, we were encouraged to go through IVF and all those things before the surgery. And I declined all of that. I don't feel like that was my path. So even though I had decided that, children weren't necessarily something that I wanted it, for me and for us at that time, it was still a hard pill to swallow when you absolutely cannot.
Yes.
So there was a lot of emotion there. Lots.
Yeah. I had a full hysterectomy at 35.
Okay.
But I had 2 biological children before we adopted our third, and it was still hard. So, and I was the same place where I was like, oh, I'm fine if I don't ever do this again. But having the option taken away without ever experiencing it with so much time left in case you did want that, that's got to be really hard.
And it was. I'm not here to tell anybody it wasn't. And also I feel like I was internalizing a lot of what I thought my husband at the time was feeling, even though that's not what he was communicating to me. I feel like I was internalizing all of that, like sad for him,
Yeah. That's a lot to put on yourself.
It was a whole lot. So that's why that was one of the other reasons I was laying in that bed, and things just started coming to me. I really had to sit with myself. And that was the first time that I think in my adult life that I had ever truly sat with myself. And it was forced on me, of course.
You're in your feelings.
In my feelings and my sadness. I was at that place. It wasn't rock bottom. I don't consider that a rock bottom, but it definitely was a pivotal place for me that I knew something had to change.
Was it sort of rumbling before that, and then that was the catalyst, or was this a brand new thing for you?
It was really an epiphany for me. I feel like it was there. I just couldn't touch it. I couldn't put words on it. I don't feel like I knew enough at the time to even own that part, to own the unhappiness. Because like I said, I was living the dream. Who was I to complain? You know, I don't think I ever gave myself permission at that point to question anything or to say, you know, this looks good on paper, but this doesn't really make me happy.
And we're living at a different time than when you first started.
Yeah.
You know, people, I think 20 years ago, somebody might have said, like, what do you mean makes you happy? Like, just do your job and shut up.
Take that money and then retire, then you be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully you get to retirement, right? Because now you're burnt out. So what did you decide in that moment?
Well, that moment, there weren't any huge decisions made. But the word purpose just kept coming to me. And I had never, ever considered purpose before. I was in my bed, I had my computer, and I just remember Googling like the word purpose. So how you find your purpose or something along those lines. Like it was just heavy on me at that time. And a book came up. It's not a book that I necessarily want to talk about. It's not a book that I recommend to anybody, but a book came up. And that's what literally set me on this journey. And I probably read, you know, maybe the first couple chapters. That's what I do a lot of times. I get a book, I read the first couple chapters, and I'm on to the next. And then I was literally on to the next. And I remember laying there and thinking like, there has to be more to life than, you know, being in a relationship that isn't serving me, that I'm just not happy and fulfilled, going to a job that I hate and paying bills and dying. Like there just has to be more to life than it. And I'm not find it. I didn't move my feet then, of course. I'm laid up in the bed. But that was the catalyst for everything that you see here today.
That's awesome. And I like that you say it's not necessarily about that book. It's not like this book changed my life, but that book represents the pickle jar, right? And it like loosened it so that when you were feeling healthy, you could just blow the lid off that thing and move forward.
And that's what I did. I literally turned my life upside down. Everybody around me like, what the hell is she doing?
Yeah.
But it wasn't for them to understand it. I'm glad that I was at a point in my life where I was so much stronger within myself. I was moving for me and not for everybody else.
There are so many people out there who are like, this is what I was doing. This is the aha moment. And then suddenly I'm living my purpose and life is great. Like, bring me back to that time where you're trying to be who you know you can be and the response around you.
Yes, let's talk about the response. Even though I know the responses were out of love, but it was so much fear that was being projected on me from my parents. One of the closest people to me is my dad. I'm a daddy's girl all day. He's girl dad. I'm an only child. So when I actually told my dad about getting the divorce and leaving and packing up and leaving this big house, you know, and this lifestyle and moving into a little apartment and figuring my shit out, that was the first time in my life that my dad was not supportive.
Really?
The first time, because he's always been my biggest cheerleader, pom-poms, everything. But it was his fear of his daughter being on her own, you know, not having this man as her safety net, you know, giving up this lifestyle that, you know, I think he wanted more for me than I did, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate to have supportive friends. They was probably thinking certain things, but they never said it. You know, they call me brave. I feel like I've inspired a lot of people since.
Yeah.
It wasn't all rainbows and roses initially. It was a lot of pushing through.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to talk about that stuff because
it really is.
There's someone listening right now who's like, I want to make a huge shift in my life, but I have all these people around me. And I think it does a disservice if we pretend it was like, I found my purpose and the seas parted and and the angels sang, you know.
It was rough in the beginning. You know, I'm adjusting to single life. What is that? In my mid to late 30s. I had been single since I was a teenager at that point.
Right.
So it was all types of adjustments. There were many and many nights in tears. There were many, many nights of not knowing. There was lots of times where I didn't have the clarity, but I had this like unshakable faith and belief that there was something out there that was for me, that would fill me up and be satisfying and like those types of things. Yeah. So that's what really kept me going. That's how photography came back. I did a photo shoot with one of my cousins. It's funny, these cousins. She's grown. She's actually an older cousin on my dad's side. And she was going through a breakup. did her hair, did her makeup, I dressed her up, took her outside, did a photo shoot, and her whole energy changed and so did mine. And that was my first time getting back at it. And it was like, it became addictive. And then once I was furloughed, I was already doing it on the side. I just fully stepped into it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so being furloughed, I'm sure it was pretty scary, but at the same time, how freeing is that?
It was. Okay, so it's crazy how serendipitous all this was and how it happened, because people have been getting got for like 6 months. I just happened to be on the tail end of the whole furlough situation. But that day I actually had my camera at work with me. And I had been outside taking pictures of like rose bushes and things like that, just like on my break, just to, you know, bring myself some peace, because I hated that damn job. I hated that.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back in from doing whatever I was doing and had a message on my phone, voicemail. So I kind of knew what was up. Asked me to come to the office, you know, HR is sitting there, supervisor sitting there. They tell me that they're letting me go. They tell me about my severance package. They tell me all of that. And my heart is pounding, but I get up and shake their hand. It's funny because I've been a photographer since I was a child. I was always the girl with the camera. I was always the girl in school with the camera, documenting the moments. And I've been doing makeover, transformation photos, shoots with my little cousins because I'm the oldest. So I basically forced them to do a photo shoot. I had like this little 110 Leak Click. It was a hot pink Leak Click.
Oh, nice. I remember those.
And ladies, grown-ass women, y'all remember those cameras? They had them in all colors.
Yes. I'm going to find a picture and put it in the show notes for sure.
I used to have one, but I used to have a picture, but that's what I started with. So I would raid my mama's closet, my grandma's closet, and like put up clothes with their hair and makeup and take them outside for a photo shoot. So I did that for so much of my teenage years. And then, you know, college and real life and all that stuff. And I just put my camera down. And then it was my ex-husband. What up? Oh, because we're still working. It's my ex-husband that bought me a DSLR camera. And that's when photography came back into my life. Because I had to learn how to use the camera because it was all fancy with lots of buttons and things. And it was like, y'all giving me my walking papers. Thank you. Because I probably wouldn't have did it on my own at that point. Or I wasn't ready to pull the trigger at that point. Even though a friend had just asked me in the car if I would ever leave my job to do photography. And I said yes. But it was funny because right after that, they gave me push I needed.
The universe is like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. Got it.
The universe said, what? Okay.
Yeah. That's amazing because there's so many people right now, as you know, in the last 2 years who have been making these huge shifts and sometimes not on their own. It wasn't necessarily their choice, but there's that nagging feeling of like, I know this is better for me. I know I should be leaving this thing, but you need the push.
You need to push a lot of times because, you know, of that fear and of that programming and, you know, all that stuff that society puts on us or we allow society to put on us.
Yeah, absolutely. So you start really leaning into this whole photography thing. And did you know right away that the photography that you wanted to do was what you had been doing since you were a child in empowering women like this?
I had been doing other types of photo shoots. I had been doing families, kids, you know, just really trying to find my space. But it wasn't until that moment where it all came back to me. And it was just like, this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have seen some of these photos and the transformations. I think there's a lot of messaging, and we're going to get into selfies in a minute, but there's a lot of messaging of this vanity, this like, why would you want a photo shoot? Are you vice president of your company? Are you a celebrity? Like, why would you, Betty, want a photo shoot? And so what would you say to those people who think you have to be some high profile professional to have a photo shoot?
It's funny that you said that. It's one of my clients. She actually flew into town to do the photo shoot with me. And she said her Lyft or Uber driver said to her, you know, why are you in town? And she's like, oh, I'm here for a photo shoot. And they're basically like, well, who are you? And why do you need a photo shoot? And she's basically, because I am me, and this is me celebrating myself. Because it is one of those things where if you're not a VP or a celebrity or whatever, people think it's vain and unnecessary to have pictures of yourself. You know, you have pictures of your kids, you have pictures of your pets, with your family. Why not exist in pictures for yourself? So initially, that was my whole having women exist in pictures, you know, because so many of the times we're either hiding or we're putting everybody else first.
That's right. And so you start the business, and did it take off right away?
No, nobody knew what I was doing. Nobody could understand. what is she doing? I remember people telling me, you have a lot more money if you just specialize in corporate headshots. You could make a lot more money if you shot families. I'm like, I don't give a damn. For me, it's not about the money. Obviously, I left the whole career on the table to do something that fulfilled me. So no, it did not take off immediately.
I'm glad to hear that, because I think that there's that expectation that you were furloughed on Friday and by Monday you had a website and you were kicking ass.
No, but we'll tell y'all what I was doing. So because for those 6 months, everybody was getting God and the project had been shelved and we were just basically told to look big for a long time. That's when I was building my website. That's when I started taking classes. That's when I started reading. That's when I started getting real intentional about this business I was building. So when I did leave, I did have a website. I did have some contacts and I did have a few things in place when I left, but no, it wasn't like stepping out of the office and then stepping on this big major set. It was not that at all. I started parking lots, y'all. I called myself the Hobo Photographer because I lived, my apartment complex was in like this shopping center. And so there was a Lowe's, a Best Buy, the restaurants, and I used to take their carts and put people's clothes in it and push it around, for parts of the parking lot so we can have different backdrops and different scenes. I started from super humble beginnings.
That's amazing. I want to go back just for a second to point out the fact that you said you started all of these things while you were still employed. So if someone is feeling stuck right now, it's not jump and the parachute will appear necessarily. It's get your ducks in a row.
That is my advice to everybody. Let that job fund your dream, until you can do what you need to do.
Yeah, let that job fund your dream. That's amazing. That's the quotable for this episode. It is. One of many at this point. One of the things that you wrote when we first started talking about doing an episode, and that I relate to, is that you feel like you give women permission. Number one, why do you think we need to even get permission?
Because we've been so conditioned that what we need is outside of ourselves. And we're looking for that approval so many times from our families, from our friends, from our job, from whoever. I really think it's a cultural, societal thing for women. It's oppressive. It is. It really, really is. We're not taught to think for ourselves, but when we start thinking for ourselves, a lot of the times we're shunned or we're suppressed. A lot of times people don't want that bigness around them because it's intimidating,
Let's call it what it is. If a woman knows her power, speaks her power, and shows up like a grown-ass woman, that is very dangerous for those who want us to keep quiet and hide.
It's very dangerous for those that are currently in positions that they shouldn't be in. Let's put it like that.
Yes. Absolutely. And we see it happening all over the world.
All over.
So let's talk about selfies. So you have this event coming up. Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's Love Your Selfie, the live event. Love Your Selfie is actually a course that has transformed into a live event. But it's a course that I created during the pandemic, earlier in the pandemic, I should say, in 2020, because I couldn't reach my clients. Like I couldn't go out and shoot. We were pretty much on lockdown. Everybody was afraid, but I wanted a way to share, earn some money, and have some fun. And I've been taking selfies, another thing from childhood, y'all. I have pictures of me with that click camera, with these selfies that look like this, that I've been documenting myself forever. And my best friend has been teasing me forever because I always take selfies. And it's so empowering for me. I love to document myself. And, one thing led to another. It became a course. And now it's a live event. And I've been able to teach so many women and see so many women glow up and show up and really see themselves and be themselves and free themselves through the power of selfie. Like, it's just wild to me. But it really is powerful.
Tell me why, because I think some of us will see someone on Instagram or social media and it's just one selfie after another. And it's like, oh my gosh, will you stop with the selfies? But while I say that, I think that's coming from something I'm feeling about me. It's not really about them and how they're showing up. So is there a fine line between being self-absorbed and posting selfies and creating confidence?
It probably is. I just don't know where that line starts and stops.
So when you see a woman who has lots of selfies on her social media, what do you think?
I don't look at her and be like, damn, she's full of herself.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't know what it took for her to even get there to post that first one. You know, it was so freeing and exhilarated after she posted that first one, you know, that she continues to post them, to document herself, to show up, to show out. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. That's why I love a new perspective. One of the reasons I do this podcast is so I can talk to women and go, these are my rigid beliefs, and have somebody come back and sort of like hold up a mirror and go, why are those your rigid beliefs?
I teach these intimate Love Your Selfie team confidence building workshops. I also offer those. And in those workshops, I can literally it's only about 2.5 hours from the time that we start to the time that we finish. Some women in those workshops have never taken a selfie and have never even posted a selfie. And they're the first ones to run to their social media and post. So to me, that doesn't say vanity. That doesn't say she's full of herself. What it tells me is this woman is seeing herself. And now she's ready for other people to see her as well. That's huge to me.
Yeah.
It's just huge.
I love that. That's really a new way to think about it for me. And so how do we create good selfies? Because you've seen that like camera from down below, and like at some point we all get the neck. It's just there. But like,
it's real. That's real.
But you don't have to accentuate that in a photo.
You don't, and there's all types of tips and tricks. But I say the first thing to creating good selfies is taking them. Okay, take good selfies, and it is an inside job. But sometimes we start from outside and go in. You know, just whatever works. But lighting is key. Lighting, body language. If you just fully extend your arm versus having it here or here, that in itself changes the game. You get yourself in front of some good light, some natural light, a window or a door, or if you're outside, maybe in a shaded place that's well lit. I mean, you gonna keep taking these selfies.
You're never gonna stop.
I tell everybody, 9 times out of 10, the reason that women don't like taking selfies of themselves is because they're in bad lighting and they're accentuating what they don't like with the shadows and all those things. Get yourself in some good light, take selfies and fully extend that arm and just click, click, click. You know, I love body language, and I tell people to get out of their head, play some music, because, music can elevate a room. It elevates the mood. It's going to elevate your face and your energy. And, take candid selfies. Just have fun with this. I love for my ladies to have fun with this.
Yeah.
I haven't taught any men just yet, but that's probably coming. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I think this is amazing. So tell me about women struggling when they came to you. What was happening in their lives and in their heads? Let's be honest.
The biggest piece of feedback that I've gotten from women, the biggest struggle is caring about what other people think. Playing small and shrinking for other people.
Yeah. And you know what's so interesting about shrinking for other people? The other people are probably still judging you, even if you're shrunk down, right? They're still judging you because that's who they are and what they do.
Or they're not. Or they don't even care, and it's in your head. Like a lot of the time, so much of it is head.
Yeah, that's true too, right? So there's these like two camps. So there's some people that you're never going to please, no matter how small or large you are. And then on the other side, most people probably aren't even thinking about you at all.
Or surviving a pandemic right now.
Yeah. What are you teaching? Because I just knowing you for 2 minutes, I know that it's about so much more than taking photos.
It's mindset. We go into mindset work. It's really that ownership work. So I'm talking to them, and a lot of the time, because they've lived in this smaller version of themselves, they can't even see themselves like out there being visible with the ownership. So what I do is I ask them to channel alter ego, which all it is, it's really their higher self. But channel an alter ego, who do you identify with in a book, on screen, someone you might know in your personal life that just appears, that confident and that strong, and that when you're around them or you watch them, you kind of embody that and take that on. Go ahead and channel them and step to that as you own more and more of who you are. So that's just one of the ways to help them into their body and get into their confidence. And again, it's something that's not necessarily inside of them at the moment, but it's something that's tangible that they can grab that can elevate them to that next step,
Yeah. Do you think it's important, if someone comes to you and they're with 9 other women and those women are timid and shy and not ready to step into their power, we tend to become what we're around, right? And so how important is it for us to surround ourselves with people who are putting themselves out there, who are walking the walk?
It's extremely important. Like for me, it's one of the most important things because I consider myself a permission giver. So a lot of times just me showing up and being all of myself literally gives another woman permission to do the same. I see it in my business. I see it in my real life pretty much every day. I don't know the saying. I'm probably going to screw it up, but the tides and the sails and everybody comes up.
Yeah. The high, something to the effect of high tide raises all ships or something.
Yeah, that part.
I know I got it wrong, but you know, whatever.
Y'all know what we mean. Y'all certain generation, y'all know what we mean.
Exactly. Don't listen to what I say. Just understand what I mean. So I have to point out, and you probably already know this, and I don't know how often you hear it. I am 100% confident that the women who show up, it's not just what you teach. It's you. You have an energy. Yeah, you call yourself King Mo because just spending a little bit of time, I'm like, of course you do. Of course you do. So
I do. I own that. For a lot of times, I could not own that. I felt like it was something outside of me. I felt like that was vain. Just being straight up with y'all because I've been getting this since. Now, I wasn't always this person. Let me take y'all back for a minute. I was always this person with my family and friends, but the rest of the world didn't get to see this. At my job, where I was at for all those years, they called me Don't Speak Monique. They ain't get none of this energy.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
No Speak Monique.
No Speak Monique was my nickname that I heard through the grapevine. Nobody told me to my face, but I heard through the grapevine because I didn't have anything to give. So this also represents me being a place in my life where I do have it to give, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm finally owning that.
And owning that, like you said before, is not only giving other women permission, but it's giving them the confidence to do it. This is what I love about this time in history is that there are women out there doing huge things who are like, yeah, I'm flawed. Yeah, I struggle with this. This is who I am.
It's time for that because for so long we were fed that bullshit perfection.
Yes.
For so long. And I remember when I first started, I came on the scene on social media with my business and everything, really like living out loud, probably around 2012, 2013. Mm-hmm. And I put myself in a box trying to appear picture perfect, you know, so I didn't tarnish my brand. Knowing behind the scenes I was cussing and all this bullshit. And it got to be a problem probably like a year or so in because I felt boxed and I felt trapped. You know, in this brand, in this persona where I couldn't really be myself, where I felt like I couldn't be myself. Yeah. So also King Mo was me freeing myself from that bullshit and just being more and more and more of myself, flaws and all, you know?
Yeah. I think that's so important because you also want to attract the right clients.
Exactly. So you're putting yourself out there in this, and this is what I tell my clients because I shoot, you know, personal branding for businesses and things like that. You know, show up as all of you so that you're attracting the people that you really want to work with. Otherwise, who can fake that? Who wants to be fake and phony all day? It's called code switching. You know, who wants to be doing that? I don't got time for that. I just can't. I've been there, done that, and I'm not willing to do it.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Exactly. Yeah. Life can already be exhausting enough. Why add some more tired shit to your life?
Exactly. This podcast used to be called 40 Thrive. And because I was 45 when I came up with it and I was like, oh, 40 Thrive. And so many people would say to me like, that's all fine and good, but that's not your attitude. That's not who Jackie is. And so when I changed it to the Grown Ass Woman's Guide back in September, whenever someone will ask me, well, what's the name of your podcast? I say the Grown Ass Woman's Guide. And they'll either lean forward like, yeah, I want to know more. Or they'll go, you're not my people. It's so freeing because if you're offended by the name, you definitely don't want to be around me.
Right? That's the same way I feel. I feel like I was at that point, I was attracting clients that I didn't even want to work with because I was being somebody that I really wasn't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in the shoot. In the shoot, I'm always on and myself, but on, you know, on the social media.
In the branding.
Yeah, the branding perspective, the aesthetic and all that kind of stuff. And then at one point, I can't remember what year it was. I was like, I'm over this bullshit. Done with this. And I don't want my clients to subscribe to that either. We create amazing images, but I'm really here for them to tell their story and for them to own their story. My position on photography is changing as well. I got to a point where I didn't want these picture perfect, overly airbrushed images. I wanted to show realness. I wanted to show rawness. And so I'm moving more into that, but still keeping my aesthetic, which is beauty, because I love, all that stuff, but just intertwining all that and making it more of me where I am right now. So now I'm not only doing the celebration shoots and the branding shoots, I'm also doing shoots that are helping women reimagine their lives and taking things in their lives that may have been oppressive to them at one point and turn it into something that can serve them. And we're doing it visually in pictures. I'm so excited that my work is able to grow with me, that I don't have to allow myself to stay stuck in one aesthetic, one style as I grow and evolve,
Yeah. I mean, I think constant evolution is key.
It is. And it should be.
Yeah. And your brand can reflect that and grow right along with you. Yeah.
I definitely should. And that's what I tell my clients. I'm not one of those people that when we're talking or doing our, pre-shoot prep, everything. I'm like, no, we're going to go with the flow. We're going to feel it. We're going to vibe it out. We're going to leave room for magic. I don't have these overly structured shot lists and stuff like that. I literally follow energy and light when I shoot. I'm not even a technical photographer. Like, I'm not technical at all.
If someone's listening right now and she's like, I know I want to step out. I want to, as you say, show up and glow up, but I don't know how. And I just need I can't go and work with King Mo. And I'm waiting for this selfie live event that I'll link to. What can she do today to move even just the tiniest bit toward finding herself in this way?
So many things come to my head, but the first thing that I'm just going to look in the mirror. Like, literally, mirror work is so powerful. Like, you looking at yourself in the mirror, literally from the top of your head, as much as you can see in the mirror, in your eyes, and owning that and being okay with it. Even if it's just if say you look in the mirror and you see 50 things you hate, why not look for something that you actually love? Because I know that there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all have something, right?
Something. Start with that something and then build from there.
Awesome. King Mo, you are truly a king. Thank you for doing this.
My absolute pleasure, lady.